Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Seth Williams. You're listening to the REtipster podcast. Today, I'm talking with Larry Jarnigo. So Larry reached out to me not long ago with something interesting that he was doing that I haven't heard from, I don't think, any other land investors out there. Not that it hasn't been done, but it's not commonly done, where Larry put together a TV commercial for his land business to basically advertise that he's buying land from people. Because this is such a unique thing, at least at the time of this recording, I thought, you know what? I want to find out more about that. I want to understand how he did this, how much it costs, how effective it is, what the pros and cons are of this, all the questions I could think of surrounding that, because I'm sure a lot of other people in the REtipster audience would be interested in learning more about this as well. So, Larry, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks, Seth. This is great. Been listening for quite a long time, so it's really neat to be on the other side. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Glad to have you on board. So how did you first hear about this idea of doing a TV commercial? I've had the idea myself, but with the other stuff that I've done, it's that's working fine. Why mess around with a TV commercial? It almost feels like it's too broad or too much of a shotgun approach. When I think of this, it almost feels like putting my ad on a hot air balloon or flying a plane across the sky or having a billboard that just shoots it to everybody out there. But is it working for you? And how is it working for you?
Yeah, it's working for me. It was nerve-wracking, even just the idea of being on TV. But it's working, and I think it's worth sharing with the audience just to have other ideas and options. As our businesses have grown, we've seen people moving from just direct mail to texting to calling to ringless voicemail to all the different things. And this is an avenue that people aren't really talking about, don't know much about. And I dug in and I went through it. It's been working great. So I wanted to kind of share what I can with everybody.
Hi, this is Larry with Land Exit Advisors, and I buy land for cash. Do you have vacant land you inherited? Land you had plans for, but circumstances have changed? Turn that unwanted land into cash. I buy all kinds of vacant land with 4+ acres and road access. I will pay you cash fast, all with no fees, no banks, and no realtors. Stop wasting your money year after year paying these taxes. Call me today. I'll buy your land for cash. Call 256-798-0000. That's 256-798-0000.
Now that people have heard that, how complicated was it for you to make this ad? Did you just do this at home, or did you have to go to some studio to do this, or how's that work?
Yeah, great question. So I found out about it through podcasts for house wholesalers. And a guy was talking about, he's been having success with it for years and years. I forget if he has ties to TV or was in that world, or maybe he just is partnered with the folks that put it all together, the folks that have been doing this for a long time. And I'd seen commercials before for house wholesalers, so-and-so Tennessee buys land or whatever it might be. I knew this could be a possibility. And so when I got on the phone to talk more about the program, they really walked me through it and described everything. They have it down to a science with what they do for the house wholesalers. It's pretty much going off of their script. You're basically looking for those motivated sellers. And so it takes a little while to get it set up. They're talking to you about, what are your thoughts on your background? What are your thoughts on this and that? And so you're going back and forth with a whole team of folks that have been in TV making commercials. They buy all of the spots on all the different channels and they talk to you about that. And then the big day comes. So I had to go down to the Fox TV station here in Nashville, and it was pretty nerve-wracking. It was great. They had everything ready for me. I had my script. And the beautiful thing about it is you're really just reading one line at a time. So it's not like you're just standing up there for 30 seconds and you have to have all this stuff memorized, because you'd be surprised. You look it over a few times, you feel pretty good about it. But when you get in there, they're guiding you saying, hey, you got to use your hands. You got to smile. It did take, a few takes for each individual line. And I wasn't really expecting that. They're such pros. They edit it. The guy behind the camera was the one saying, okay, yeah, that was great. Let's just redo it one more time. Use your hands. Smile a little more. They really hold your hand and walk you through it, because, like anyone else, I was nervous and kind of freaked out about the idea of it. It's not like I've ever been on TV or, have some big social media following or anything like that.
Sounded really good. You kind of look like a pro, just seeing and hearing what that came across like at the end. I can't say, as somebody who's been doing YouTube for a while, I can't speak for all YouTubers, but I'm actually terrible at delivering lines. And if anybody ever thinks I sound smooth, the only reason is because there's a lot of editing involved there, a ton of cutting. That whole thing about saying one sentence at a time, sometimes that's really what it boils down to. Unless you really have thought through every possible word you're going to say 100 times, it's really hard to go on for minutes at a time without making cuts and that kind of thing. So it sounds very, very normal. And I remember the first time I ever hired like a video editor for my stuff, and I was just super embarrassed to like send him my raw footage because it's just so bad. I actually held off for years hiring an editor because of that, because I just didn't want people to see how dumb I looked. And he was like, yeah, man, this is totally normal. Like everybody does this. Don't worry about it. Like this isn't bad at all. This is just part of what editing's all about. And it's like, oh, okay, well, cool. I don't know if you're just lying to make me feel better, but at least it's good to hear from you too, Larry. It doesn't have to be that perfect to make it look good in the end.
Yeah, I kept apologizing to the guy behind the editing, kept saying, oh, I'm sorry, need to redo it. And he's like, buddy, I have seen people that are total disasters come in here. And that's why we have editors.
So you say you did this at the Fox station. So does that mean this only aired on that Fox channel? Is this like a local TV station? Is that the only place where this thing has been airing?
No, good question. My TV commercials are in Alabama. And I just went to my local station to actually shoot it. So that's just kind of part of the package, is paying for your shoot. And it doesn't matter where that is because they're just going to compile it, edit it, and then send it to the stations. I'm in North Alabama, my commercial, and I'm on 5 different channels. Again, they have it down to a science of what my target audience might be. A little bit older. What are they watching? When are they watching TV? So it's like 9 o'clock news. It's during the day, Wheel of Fortune or whatever it might be. Again, they've been doing this a long time and they know what we're looking for based on all their experience with the house folks.
Is it almost like a independent contractor for you where they're just shooting and producing the commercial, but like they would then send it to NBC and ABC? Like it's not like it only goes to Fox stations, right? Like how did you even land on Fox in the first place? Like did you just not know where to go, so you called them up?
No, I mean, again, they're holding your hand. They're telling you, hey, we've reached out to a few different studios. We got the best price with Fox. Go there this day, this time, shoot your commercial. So it was real straightforward. Again, none of this research or anything was done on my end.
When you say they are holding your hand, who is they? Like who set this up for you?
The house wholesaler works with a team that is in TV. They have some kind of agreement together. Obviously, he brings in clients, and then they kind of take it from there. It's a whole team of folks that help you with each different part of it. They buy all the media for you, because I think that's really an intimidating part, is like, well, gosh, how much is this going to cost? Like, how do I know I'm not getting ripped off by the TV company, right? And so you have them on the back end saying, negotiating on your behalf for the lowest price possible. Each market has a significantly different cost. So I chose Huntsville because it was about half the price of Nashville. I mean, I live in Nashville. It would have been convenient. There's obviously, it's a growing town and there's a lot of landowners, but the price was so much different that I went with Huntsville. So you can imagine in some areas where people work, you don't need to live in the state. You go down to the studio, a week or two later, your ad is in that market. And if it is rural, it might be much more affordable than mine is in Huntsville.
So how did you find out about this house wholesaler? Like, can you share who that is? Or if people want to work with that person, how could they get in touch with them and put these pieces together like you did?
Sure. So Tony Javier is his name. Basically, the program or the link is REMTV, remtv.com/land. He's got landing page. You schedule a call with Tony. Tell him, hey, I'm in land. I've heard from Larry. Then he'll just kind of go over what the situation is and how it all works. And you guys just kind of go from there. Then you schedule a call to talk about it with the TV team. And if it's something that you want to go forward with, they set up, I think it was about $10,000 to get it all set up, shoot the commercial and all of that. And then it's been $5,052 a month in ad spend. So I sent checks that are already prepaid for 3 months in advance, and those just kind of hit at the first week of the month. And yeah, you're up and running. The commercial in Tennessee was going to be like $9,000. Huntsville's a very hot market. It was in Forbes as the #1 city to live in the country. So if you're being cost conscious, there's going to be other markets that you can get for cheaper than that.
So for that $5,000 and some change for the monthly cost of running the ad, you said this runs during the day, so it's probably not like the highest viewed time of the the day. How many days does it air? How many times per day does it air? Like, what's the total that you get out of that in terms of just airtime?
I forget all the numbers on it. It's been a while since I looked at that, but it is not all just in the middle of the day. They understand that you might have folks that work at night or during the day. 9 o'clock local news, you're going to be on there. You're catching eyeballs. Again, they have it down to a science. They know that people aren't just sitting around at noon, and those are the only people that you're going to be able to get. A variety of different channels. I remember him saying that there's one channel that plays MASH all the time. I forget what channel it was, but he's just like, we've had so much success with that channel and that older clientele that might be interested in watching that. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are you also sending out direct mail or doing any other marketing? Or are you just doing this commercial at this point? Like, how do you know which of your leads are coming from this commercial versus some other marketing medium?
They set you up with a CRM, and it's great. It's high level. So you can listen to the calls. They set you up with a number, and then I have that number go to answer first. And they have the script. Just like when you're sending mail and you maybe use Pat Live, it's the same kind of thing. You give them the questions, and so the lead pops into your Airtable or whatever it might be, just like you do with regular mail. And so then I just label it TV, just work the lead like I normally would. As we're all trying to evolve, you got to have your hand in a few different cookie jars. And so I'm doing text messaging right now, still doing direct mail, and now TV. TV's been good, but I think it's been bringing me at least one deal a month. I do things differently. You might have someone that buys anything and everything. I'm not really like that. I'm looking for at least $10,000, $20,000 profit per deal. And something else interesting about my commercial is I say 4+ acres with road access, right? That's what I'm looking for. You have people that love infill lots or this or that. And so you can make it broader, and I could have bought way more deals than I have. I have my niche, and it's what I'm going for and what I'm looking for. And you can do whatever you want with it.
So the number that you tell people to call in the commercial, is that like its own standalone number that's just used for the commercial? So you can easily track which people are calling because of the commercial?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They give you that separate CRM. It's got a number, and it's one of these kind of good generic numbers like 000 or something kind of easy and catchy. And then that number forwards to your answer first number. And again, they're kind of walking you through this and helping you with it throughout.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're spending, what was the exact number again, per month? 5,000 something?
$5,052. Yep.
So, and that's yielding you one deal a month that's making 10 to 20,000, I think you said, or possibly more. Comparing that to direct mail, like, would you say you get a better ROI from other stuff? Or?
It probably equals out to, they're all probably the same. I'm mailing about 2,000 to sometimes 3,000 letters a week in mail. I do direct mail with blind offers. I'm sure, like most of you guys, you're seeing that the deals per mailer or per amount have really gone up in the last year and a half or so. And so they're all producing. These are quality leads. These are folks that I think they are weary of the direct mail. They're weary of a text message. And you would be really surprised at the credibility that you have when you're on TV. They're just like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to the guy on TV. Like some kind of small town celebrity or something. But, it builds a ton of credibility. And so a lot of the folks, they don't know anything about real estate, and they see you on there and they know that you're in land and you're kind of an expert. And so I'm not a big person to try and give them 10 cents. I know there's a lot of slick people that are really good at negotiating and all that kind of stuff. But generally, I'll evaluate it, look at all the comps, and then I'll check to see what the tax assessed value is. If I can double my money or more and give them a tax assessed value, that's kind of what I try to do. Just let them know, here's what I'm basing my offer on.
Yeah. The tax assessed value, is that 50% of market value? Is that what that means in Alabama?
It just depends. It depends on the county, depends on what it is, but I've seen it to be around that, I guess.
Yeah, there is something about that when you're on TV, or there's a guy near us who has these outdoor advertising billboards. He's an insurance agent. I don't know the guy. I don't even know what kind of insurance he does, to be honest, but I see his picture all over the place. And I actually saw him in person at a thing a couple weeks ago. I didn't even talk to him because I was like too nervous to go talk to him. But I was just like, hey, you're that guy. Like, you're this celebrity. It's just this weird, it makes no logical sense, but just like, because he's this face that everybody sees, it's like, wow, like he's that movie star type person. So you're right. There's something weird in the human psychology about being on a TV screen or just being a prominent, well-known face that builds instant credibility, whether it should or not. It does.
Yeah, it really does. It can seem like such a daunting thing to get it all set up and actually be on TV. So I think there is some psychology based on this guy obviously knows what he's doing if he's on TV, right? And you can't get that out of a letter. Even if they read it and you say Better Business Bureau and all these different things, there's just way more power in that commercial.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you know this, but like, how many people still watch TV these days? Not probably the right representation of everybody, but like, I don't. Like, we don't have cable. We don't even have a local TV stuff at my house. Like, I can't watch TV. We've got like all the streaming stuff, and that's how we spend our time on the TV whenever we do. What is the norm out there? I could see how the older generation would totally still be into that. I know my parents and my in-laws both still watch the local news, and they're in their 60s. I mean, that's just kind of the world that they evolved in. But do you have any stats on that, or do you have any idea like what portion or what segments of the population are still engaged in TV and see these commercials?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think it relatively mirrors the folks that are calling from the direct mail. It's an older generation. I mean, I do have a commercial property I got through the mailer, and the guy's probably in his 50s or so. I think there's different marketing avenues that you want to touch for the different people. Like, I would say that the people that are responding to text messages are going to be a little bit younger than the folks with the direct mail and TV for sure.
Mm-hmm. And in your commercial, you tell them to call? Do you tell them to text anything or go to a website, or you just tell them to call the number and that's it? And do you say that like a couple times? Is there a way to increase engagement and make sure it actually sticks in their brain and they take action?
Maybe the website on one of the pictures, I don't remember, but you really just want them to call. And it's interesting because I've gotten quite a few leads through my website because they might not want to call, but they've taken a minute, they've seen that ad a couple times and they're like, and then they just might be sitting there on their phone and say, type in my company's name and then submit their information that way. And I've even gotten emails from people saying, you know, I saw your commercial, I have a couple questions or something like that. So believe it or not, they don't just all call. That come about because they see you on TV and they might do a little research on their own end.
When it comes to the website portion of it, could you, like similar to the phone number, could you have a unique website URL that maybe forwards to a different place or somehow tracks which people are typing in that thing because they saw it on the commercial? Like, is that something worth trying?
It probably is. I wouldn't say that the traffic is that high to warrant me getting that granular, I guess. You know, some people are really into that. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of thing for land investors anyway, this type of unconventional advertising approach, it makes me wonder about a lot of other unconventional advertising stuff, like sponsoring a event or a conference or Little League baseball team or somehow inserting your name somewhere else that most people wouldn't normally do. It just makes me wonder, like, could that work? Would that be more or less effective? I can see how TV makes a lot of sense because you can actually insert a lot of relevant stuff that they can take action and do. And it probably also varies based on whether you're trying to buy or sell properties. It seems like possibly the downside of TV is that like the person really needs to be paying attention and like pick up the phone and call like right then or right after. Because like as soon as that commercial is done, they're gone. If they find you on the internet or if they get a piece of mail, piece of paper is right in front of them. It's not like they can forget that. They could throw it away, but it's not like they need to act in 20 seconds or they're not going to be able to do it. And a lot of this stuff, this is the struggle I always have with any kind of marketing medium, is that there's a lot of speculation. I might be wrong with the stuff I'm saying, but it just seems like that could be the case. Does this TV company or the commercial company, do they give you any kind of stats or analytics on, we could tell that this many people were watching at this time when this commercial aired, kind of like Google Analytics would be able to do, or a lot of guesswork, like they don't really know who's watching? Or
I imagine they might, and you could probably work with them to dive into that if you wanted to. I don't spend my time doing that. When I see a commercial, A, I don't usually buy things from there. B, I probably don't have a pen handy. And so the beauty of it is, you know, you're hitting them a few times. And if they're watching a particular program at a certain time of day, chances are, if not that week, it might happen another week that you're going to be on again. And again, it's a catchy phone number too. It's not like a bunch of numbers you can never remember. I forget what exactly it is, but I feel like it's 256 477 and then 0000. So they do try to make it something that someone could pop in their head and be able to write down.
So it's not like a vanity number, like with a word land in it or something like that, right? It's just the numbers are what you tell people.
Yeah, it's just one number they pick that's easy, but I might inquire about that because it would be easier if the last four said land, right?
This number was something like it goes through them, right? It's not like you order a new number on Open Phone or Ring Central and then give that to them, but like they kind of control all that.
Yeah, they give you the number and then you give them a forwarding number. And I'm actually moving into another market and it's been amazing. I thought, well, am I going to need to reshoot the entire commercial? And no, they changed my graphics and then they have a voiceover person come in and say the new phone number. If you're having a ton of success with this, you could be in 4, 5, 6, who knows? I mean, it depends on what you want, but you could be in a lot of different markets all over the country, all with just that one commercial that you walked in on for 15 minutes, a year ago or something.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been following a lot of the AI stuff going on. I mean, it's hard not to follow because it's all over the news, but video is getting to the point where like not only the voice, but also like the image of the person probably in the near future will be indistinguishable from an actual person. Like you could just make a computer generated image of someone. And I guess the benefit of using your actual face and voice is that if you're the person picking up the phone and talking to them, there's going to be that connection and acknowledgement of like, wow, I'm talking to the movie star that I saw on TV. But, for people who, for whatever reason, if they're hesitant to get on camera or whatever the issue might be, I understand that because believe it or not, I feel weird about that too, even these days. I'm sure there are ways around that. If you really want to do a TV commercial, but you don't want to be the face or the voice, or if you're nervous or something, there are probably ways to work around that. Or at least there will be soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one line at a time. You're in and out of there in 15, 20 minutes and it's done. Like you don't need to worry about that and stress about it anymore. And looking back, I wish I wouldn't have stressed about it as much as I did because they do such a great job with all the graphics and all the stuff in the background. They have it down to a science on how to, use your hands, smile, and then it's done. You don't have to do it ever again if you don't want to.
Remind me, how long is this commercial? Is it 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
I don't know if you ever have this where you go into a movie theater and before the show starts, there's like different commercials that run like before the previews happen. I wonder if you could use this for that or like put this on Instagram or a YouTube ad or we were talking to Peter Nukasani back in episode 150. He brought up the idea of running ads on Hulu, which I don't think he was actually doing that, but it was just an idea that like nobody else is doing. I don't know exactly how Hulu works, but I would imagine since it's online, you could probably get hyper specific and like only air it to people in that relevant market when they get on. But have you thought about that kind of thing? Like since you're okay with being on the camera and being on TV, like why not repurpose it for this other stuff?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know there's a ton of land investors that do an awesome job with their websites and social media. I've put mine out there on my social media. It's on my website. You can, right when someone goes, there's the commercial again. And again, you're just building that credibility and you're the expert. And so if you do have all of that stuff in place, this is just more fuel on the fire.
I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but in terms of the quality of leads that come in from a TV commercial, like would you say the quality is better? Like if somebody actually calls you or goes to your website because of that TV commercial, are they more likely to actually do business with you? Or is it the same kind of, you probably wouldn't get calls from angry people who get a low offer from it because they don't have an offer yet. Like they wouldn't call you for that. The interactions that you have with the people who call because of the commercial, is it more likely that you'll end up closing a deal? Or any thoughts on that?
My commercial does say 4+ acres and road access, but there's people that have land that they want to sell and really get rid of. We all know some of it's garbage. And so irregardless of what I say in my ad, they're still calling with the tiny lot or the landlocked property or whatever it might be. I did in my kind of questionnaire or my script when they call, I asked them if they know what the tax assessed value is. I'm kind of teeing them up to get the mindset of that's probably what the offer is going to be, or that's what we're looking at, or that's what you might be able to expect, something along those lines. But the majority of the people I have found that are calling from TV have no clue on what it's worth. You get people that call that are all mad about, your offer from your direct mail and how wrong it is. But the people from TV, I've not found people to be offended by a lower offer for sure.
When you look at what TV ads can do that other marketing methods can't, Does anything stand out to you? Is it maybe the credibility boosting or maybe reaching audiences that otherwise wouldn't respond to direct mail or text or something like that? Or like, why do this? Why not just stick to the same old things that everybody else is doing?
Well, I think that no one else is doing it. And, you got these landowners that we need to get in front of. They're weary of direct mail. They're weary that some random number on their phone is trying to buy their land. People can be sentimental about their land and family land. And when you're coming on there as this credible source, you're going over how this is all going to work. I'm hiring a title attorney to handle this. I don't expect you to just mail me a check. Or I'm not going to mail you a check and you send me a deed. Nothing weird like that's going to go on. And you're kind of talking them through this. They're thinking, okay, this guy's on TV. He knows what he's talking about. He's confident. They feel really good about it. It's completely a win-win.
Now, that whole thing about how nobody else is doing it, so my brain immediately goes to this place of like, well, what if everybody else is doing it all of a sudden? Like, how many commercials would it take to completely saturate this and just be too much? Like, is it pretty much one guy or girl per market and that's it? Like, if I made a commercial that was better than yours and started running it in Huntsville, does that ruin your chances, or what do you think that would do?
The TV guys will only allow 3 house wholesalers a market. Some markets are bigger. They might allow more. The people are not dropping off. They're not saying, oh, I can't believe you'd bring someone else in. That's something you'll want to talk to Tony and the team about. But as far as I know, I think there might be one other person doing TV somewhere in Florida for land. And I think they actually do houses too. So they probably say something along the lines of, I also buy land if you have vacant land. But mine is pictures are all of farmland and land in the commercial. And so it's very specific. And again, if you wanted to move to different markets, you've already made the commercial. So you can do that. That's completely reasonable. Could work an entire state over the course of a year and a half or something like that, just moving around to the different markets.
All land investors out there who send direct mail can probably relate to this on some level, where you might get an angry call from somebody who's like, you're a scammer, I'm going to call the attorney general on you and report you to the local news and all this stuff. And it's easy to think that way when all you have from a person is a letter with no face, no voice, no personality, just like maybe a lowball number on there, maybe not even that. But when you can see a person's face and hear their voice, and not just that, but see it like on TV, the thoughts go through my mind of like, if this guy was really a scammer, like would the TV station let him on to do a commercial? Like, no, like he must have some credibility. This must be a legit guy if he's going through all these steps, when really like nothing has changed about your business. You're just doing it on TV now. And you never were trying to pull anything smart. You just changed the way that you were communicating with people. Would you agree? I mean, does it seem like that's a big part of this?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's kind of the same leads that you get, like I said, from the direct mail. They might be a little bit older. I was kind of weary of how you shoot the commercial. I buy land for cash. I just kind of didn't like how gimmicky that is. And they were just like, Larry, don't try to reinvent the wheel. It speaks to people that are motivated to sell. So I'm not getting people that know what their land is worth and they're trying to get full market value. It's just the folks that are calling in, they're not going to use the land, they don't want it, and they hear cash. I mean, so you're getting a qualified lead just because of how your presentation is. Yeah, it's working great.
Yeah, I think most people have pretty good intuition. Like if you're a sleazy salesman, like that comes across pretty quick and they can pick up on that. But like watching your commercial, like you just seem like a normal, nice guy. And I think that's probably how a lot of people are. Even if you're like not even the most well-spoken, slickest person on screen, like it's almost plays to your advantage to be normal, to be like the common person that understands what everybody's going through, that kind of thing. Again, that's stuff that you can't really get from a letter, but you could from being on TV. So is your plan to just keep like running more and more of these ads, or?
I think I will probably move around a little bit. Like I said, I'm going into another market now I'm excited about. You can get creative. I basically just used the footprint that they have for the house wholesalers. So, I ordered my little golf shirt with my logo on it to, again, kind of add legitimacy to me and my company. But I think there's a lot of different strategies that you could have for this. If you were going after hunting property, maybe wear camo, like be that land guy. I got into land a little different, maybe. I don't have a big history of being like an outdoorsman or a big hunter, anything like that. Like I never did any of that stuff. So I think there's probably a lot of ways that you could get creative on how you want to present yourself to the people you're actually really targeting, right?
Yeah, and I do know, like, when I think of what I saw in your commercial, and I think of what that would look like if I saw that as a sponsored ad on, like, Facebook or something, I don't know what, I can't put my finger on it, but, like, the way it's shot, it doesn't look like an online video ad. It looks like a local news TV station ad. Like, it just has that look and feel to it. Usually when I see online video ads on something else, it just doesn't look like that. The kind of cameras they're using, or the pacing, or the music, or the what. But, like, if you were to just copy and paste that thing out of some other place, it feels like you'd almost have to redo it in a way to cater more to the audience.
You're going into the place, they're shooting the real news, the real everything. So it's a little intimidating. Again, you got your lines and your script and you put it on the ground, but you're on a huge green screen. Like, the floor is a green screen, behind you is a green screen, and there are massive, big time TV. You think of like Anchorman, like those big TV cameras in there. And it shows up in the ad, like you said.
I would be intimidated by that for sure. Given that you're paying a little over $5,000 a month to air these ads, at what point would you look at this and say this isn't working? Is it if you got 0 deals per month from that, or 2 or 1, or what kind of deal volume do you expect in order to say that, yep, this works, versus, nope, this doesn't work, I'm going to stop doing it in this market?
It's a small sample size because I've only been doing it for 4 months. But there has been a little decline from my first maybe 2 months to my last 2 months. So I think you really just need to monitor the amount of calls you're getting. And if you're not happy with it, again, the beauty is you shot the video, it's not over. Let's try another market. Or you could even turn it off for a little and then, turn it back on. See if give it a few months break, because you've already done all the work. All it is paying for those spots, re-upping your money. So it would have to really dwindle down before I just totally cut it off, but I don't plan to do that. I plan to just move around to different markets if it completely dries up. But again, very small sample size for me to just say, that's not the same number of calls I got in the first month to the 4th month. I'm not going to say that yet. They're not all going to be home runs, and maybe some months aren't going to be home runs.
And how long have you been doing this now?
My first ad started January 9th. So I think I was shooting my commercial maybe back in like December. Probably started the communication with them in November. So yeah, there's a little onboarding and ramp up to when those calls go live. You want to have everything set up with your script and your call center and all those kind of things. Then once it's up, it's great. It's just like a mailer with Pat Live. The leads just pop into your CRM and you work them. It's great.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe, I've been doing this for about half a year at the time of this recording anyway. It sounds like maybe it just needs a little bit more time to figure out exact metrics and like when is it a success versus not, or how long do you need to try it before you can even make that call. I'm curious to see where this goes for you and if it ends up working long term or if different markets receive it differently. And I guess it's also helpful to know, I know you've mentioned it a few times now about how you're very specifically going after 4 acres with road access, I think you said. And that, I'm sure, plays some role in this as well, in terms of if somebody was just willing to take anything and everything, they'd probably get different results. And I'm sure you probably get calls from people anyway who don't fit that profile, right? Like people who have properties that are less than 4 acres or something. Like you probably still hear from them, right?
I've had people with houses that have called that are in a bind. And it's really interesting. As part of the program, you're in a mastermind with a bunch of wholesalers that do houses. And so I've made some great connections and really learning from them on hiring and the structure of house wholesalers. And then I've been a great resource for them. They'll call me, and we had one that didn't really work out, but a lot of the house wholesalers, they don't know land. And so if they're around your area, they'll bring deals to you and say, hey, let's partner up on this. I've probably not done a great job of being on all those calls, and I probably need to, because I think there's some low-hanging fruit there in networking within the group of home wholesalers to be that resource to them. If you are on those calls and you say, hey, I'm working Arizona or whatever, you're going to have house wholesaler guys that get leads. They will get leads right now. They don't know what to do with them. They have nothing. They don't know how to evaluate them, and they're just kind of throwing them off. So if you can get into the mastermind and make relationships, actually stay in touch, which is what I've done a bad job of, there's a whole nother avenue right there for you as well.
You said you get about 1 deal a month from this $5,000 ad spend. Was that what you said earlier?
Yeah, I've got 4 deals. So I've been doing it for 4 months. And again, could have probably had a lot more, but I'm picky. I'm not a big volume guy. I'm more of a cherry picker.
Like, how many actual calls come in from these things? Like, I know we've talked about the number of deals, but like, do you just get hammered with call volume after this? Or is it 10 calls and one deal for that? Or 20 calls and one deal from that? Or like, what should a person expect if they run this kind of ad? Like, should they have a whole team ready to handle the call volume? Or what are your thoughts on that?
No, and I mean, there's even the home guys that I talked to one guy in Memphis. He's the one that calls them. Like, I have an assistant. She'll usually do the initial call. And then I'll get on if there's some negotiation or she feels like there's value to be added by having, the guy in the commercial to come on. But yeah, it's 127 calls. So it's 30 calls or so a month. They're spread out. You might get 3 one day, none the next. It's nothing that's not manageable. And, you're doing a good job of qualifying it on the front end by asking them what county it's in, what name is it under. So you can do it like we normally do it. Look it up on MapRight. You're not going to have a reference number, but if you ask the right questions, you're going to be able to know, instead of just wasting a bunch of time, you're going to just handle it like you would direct mail, and you're going to look it up before you ever do anything with it.
And I know you said, I think, shoot the commercial and produce it. That was 10 grand. What is the cost of working with Tony? I assume that's probably a separate cost, right?
His separate mastermind is $99 a month. I don't know the exact specifics if you have to do it or not. You might just be able to run the ads without it.
Is that like the cost of him or his team, like finding the right stations and doing all that negotiation on your behalf? Is that what you're talking about? Or how do you get that hand-holding from him and his team to get this stuff set up?
That's the initial $10,000. That includes your video shoot and the negotiating, the picking the channels, all of that stuff.
Sounds good. I mean, any other markets you've looked at? I think you mentioned Huntsville and Nashville and how there's different costs per month to run that. I mean, if you looked at any other super high traffic markets, like how much could this be if you were doing this in like LA or something like that? What would be a high end amount that a person would have to pay? Have you looked into that at all?
I have not. I just kind of looked at the area that I've been working and I like. And another interesting thing is my ad says I buy land all over the U.S. They have not worked, but I have talked to people that live in Huntsville that have land in Nevada or wherever that they saw the commercial and they're like, hey, I have this out here and wherever. It's not just that market. You're letting them know you buy land all over the United States. And I think we all know that some of these out-of-state owners, they don't have maybe as much sentimental value and are going to be easier to let it go. So, yeah, I'm glad I remembered to touch on that because those leads do come.
Larry, I appreciate you sharing all this with us. Is there anything else a person should think about or consider or know about if they're interested in this kind of thing?
No, I mean, if you're good with getting out of your comfort zone for 15 minutes and rolling into a TV studio, it's a set it and forget it kind of thing. You're not sitting there working on your next mailer and pulling your giant list for skip tracing and all that kind of stuff. I think it's an avenue that people should look into, at least have a conversation with Tony. If I didn't answer something, they can. And see if it's right for you. I think it's definitely an avenue that has not been touched that much. It's obviously working for house wholesalers. I've had a good experience, and so there's just not that many people doing it. And I think we all know how expensive mail is, and hiring a bunch of people to run text messages, I don't think that $5,000 is completely unreasonable. I'm getting results. And again, your market might be half of the cost of what mine is. I mean, you don't know until you reach out to them and get these questions answered. So yeah, again, their website is remtv.com/land to get connected, go from there.
I'll include a link to that and a few of the other things we talked about in the show notes for this episode. This is episode 158. So you can go to retipster.com/158 to find all of that. And one final question. Obviously, you are a fan of this TV ad thing. If you had a gun to your head and you're not allowed to do 2 of your 3 marketing methods, so you're doing texting, direct mail, and TV ads, you're only allowed to do 1. And you can't do anything else. Would you do TV or direct mail or texting?
Well, man, I guess it depends on the day. If I don't get any calls one day, then I'm going to say something else. And we've all seen the great results that direct mail can yield. I don't think I can give you a good answer. Depends on the day. But I do really love that I can set it and forget it. There's none of the other work that's involved. There's none of the uploading. There's none of the picking the mailer. There's none of the pricing. There's none of that stuff. So it's definitely up there. It would be hard for me to turn it off at this point for sure.
I guess it just depends on what your response and acceptance rate is on direct mail. But $5,000 a month, I mean, what could they send out? Like close to 10,000 units of mail, depending on where you're getting your mail from and what kind of mail you're sending. You know, if you're getting maybe a deal for every 3,000 mailers, so that could result in 2-3 deals maybe from direct mail. But again, it all just depends. And you're right, it probably is different from month to month. Probably one of the big benefits with TV is that like you're just reaching people in a very different way that they don't otherwise see or think about. And there's the credibility. It's a very viable thing that you'll get deals that can only be had from TV if you're willing to go down that route, simply because people are turned off to any other way of hearing your message. So that's worth considering too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm sure people are getting 3,000 a deal every 3,000, but I primarily work in the Southeast, more than 5 acres, and it's not 3,000. That's for sure. It's much more than that, maybe double that. I feel like it's a reasonable cost for the kind of deals I'm getting.
Well, if people want to reach out to you or ask you a question or anything.
Yeah, people have seen me on Facebook and have asked me questions. So I got 2 profiles, Larry Jarnigo. You can search me. There's not many of them. Maybe my dad has one or something. I have one for business with kind of a professional like headshot and then just a personal one. Doesn't matter. Hit me up. You know, I enjoy talking shop and meeting people. I'm a social guy. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about this stuff. Hop on a call, Zoom, whatever. You can find me there. And then my business is Land Exit Advisors. And so you can just email me, landexitadvisors@gmail is another place to find me.
Cool. Are you in the REtipster Facebook group?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That is the correct answer. So you could also check out Larry there too. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks again. Again, if you guys want to see the show notes, retipster.com/158. And if you have your phones out, go ahead and text the word free, FREE, to the number 33777. You can stay up to date on all the stuff going on with REtipster. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.